you know, he's kind of that way, and you know, you can probably do just whatever you want in Cairo. If you get caught, that's probably not going to even be a big deal, but
well, that's
he does make a point. If the school does catch you, which they can, it will be a big deal for them.
It's not so much that the school catches you and then it's going to fire you automatically or something like that. It's that if the school needs some reason to fire you without paying you any sort of severance, that gives them ammunition. Now, I think this might be a good transition into the contracts. The contracts that you may have as a teacher, as a foreign teacher teaching at these schools, it's one of the longest contracts I've ever seen. It's about 15 pages. It goes over all sort of contingencies, all sorts of issues and problems that seem pretty strict to an American signing this contract. In practice, this becomes much looser. You know, nobody really sticks to it. Nobody holds you to a lot of the different contingencies, the different restrictions, the different sort of.
That's not entirely true. I've got to be honest. Like you are right. No, you're right in the sense that it is a flexible agreement, and it's just sort of like, you know, it's like a loose agreement between people.
Right.
But I will say that there are some aspects of the contract that the school will definitely be, you know, to the letter about. Which one of them being, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but like one of the things that you need to be careful about is when you apply to another job, they do have a specific.
There's a clause.
Yeah.
There's a clause in every contract for schools, and this is
schools
almost universal in terms of who I've talked to at other schools, that says if you are teaching at this school, you sign this contract, you are not allowed to teach at another school within Egypt for another 1 or 2 years. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, that sounds.
Unless you pay basically the equivalent of 2 months' salary to your previous employer.
Which means for you that if you want to go ahead and quit your job that you have like if you want to quit your first job in Egypt teaching and you want to get another job teaching in Egypt, then you're basically going to have to give up 2 months' salary in order to get that job.
Is that only if you
which is a big deal.
Prematurely, or is it?
No, that's even at the end of the contract year.
It sucks.
So it's not just if you terminate the contract early, it's at the end of the contract year. If you want to go ahead and teach at another school in Egypt, you either have to pay that fee or not teach at another school.
And that might seem ridiculous to most of you. Most of you might be sitting back like, whoa, how would they even know that I'm trying to get this other job? Well, guess what? They're all, I mean, it's like people talk. And if they might not find out immediately, but when they do, they will make you pay. Yeah. And the other school is going to oblige. The school that is employing you currently. Yeah. They're going to oblige.
Because they don't want to deal with the legal repercussions.
Right, exactly.
Because it's in their contract as well.
And they
it's sort of a tacit agreement between schools.
Right, yeah.
With this contingency within the contract of not being able to teach at these schools, that is upheld pretty strictly. And the rest of it may or may not be. However, this is my general sort of understanding of it. A lot of these stipulations within the contract may or may not be upheld on sort of a day-to-day basis. And however, a lot of them are safety guards in case you as a teacher are not fulfilling your duties in another respect, or the school needs ammunition to remove you. They can find something. Be wary of that.
Let me quickly go through the list. I'm going to go through the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the things that you need to make sure that are included in your contract. Number 1, salary, which we already mentioned. A minimum salary of £2,000.
$2,000.
Oh, yeah, good catch. $2,000. $2,000 US is the minimum amount of money that you people usually get paid. If you can get paid less than that, and if it's a job that you really like, go for it. But what I'm saying is that it's customary that a foreigner coming to Egypt is paid a minimum of $2,000 US a month
for teaching.
For teaching. Now, for other jobs, and depending on the hours that you work, it may vary, but in a general case, that's generally what you're going to get paid. Number
For
two,
teaching. And it could be a lot more than that. If
yeah,
you have experience, you have certification, so on and so forth, you could make upward of maybe
$5,000.
well, $4,000 a month. Maybe if you have a doctorate and you're willing to teach in the high schools here, maybe $5,000.
It depends on where you're working, but up to $5,000. Now, the other thing that you need to look at in your contract is the tickets that you receive to come to Egypt and go back to Egypt. Now, most contracts include a round trip ticket that some will put up to 5,000 pounds, so up to $1,000. Basically, it's not exactly the price. It may be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on where you go. But
at least
most
a portion of
places,
your transportation is paid for.
there and back, roughly. So
One round trip a year.
most schools pay for your trip there to here, Egypt, and back. The other thing is housing. Now, housing allowances are usually range anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 Egyptian pounds a month. Egyptian pounds, not American dollars. So every month you're given about 1,000 pounds. If you're very lucky, up to 2,000 pounds a month for your housing.
Or the option is to either take this money or to live in school-provided housing. I would recommend taking the money and finding your own accommodations,
Right.
living with friends, something like that. From all that I've heard at our school, at other schools, the school-provided housing is of a lower quality, but more importantly, the school is watching you very closely. And as a Westerner, we're not really used to this. We're not used to somebody watching whether we have wine in an apartment, whether we have people of the opposite sex in our apartment, whether we are up late, we have loud music, things like that.
Rock and roll.
So these are the types of things that even if you're not a partier, even if you don't think that this is a problem right now, they may become an issue later on. Simply having a friend visit who's of the opposite sex from the States and wanting them to stay in your apartment so that they don't have to get a hotel, these become issues. Whereas if you have your own apartment, the school is not the one, you're not going to lose your job over it, basically.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing that we need to talk about is transportation. When you're signing a contract, you need to make sure that transportation is included, because the transportation can, if you're a teacher, be buses from the school to your house and vice versa. Or if you're working in other places, they might give you a stipend for the amount of money that you're paying in transportation because you have to get a taxi. If you're really, really lucky, you might be able to afford, your company might afford to be able to give you a car, a company car. But if all else fails, it is possible to get an international driver's license. They're not that hard to get, and you can go ahead and just get a scooter. That's the easiest.
There are a decent amount of NGOs here that you can volunteer with. Not a lot of them will offer paid positions, so if you're looking to work full-time and support yourself working for a nonprofit, it's probably not very likely that will happen. There is the chance, however, I did find an NGO that I started working for them for a little while. Kind of midway into that process, I found my job, but at the same time, the director of the NGO wanted me to start looking for funding sources and writing proposals. So there would have been potential for me to have written a grant proposal and gotten a grant for this organization, and thus secured some funding for myself and been able to work and live there for at least a little while. So there is that potential if that's what you're interested in doing, if you would like to work in the nonprofit sector. There's a chance that, especially with, if you're a foreigner coming with, if English is your native language, there's a chance that you would be able to look for funding sources and secure some funds for yourself and kind of help establish that kind of organization there, because there are a lot of people that are trying to get ideas off the ground but just don't necessarily have the resources to do it.
It doesn't take that much.
It doesn't. All it takes is a little dedication. But so that is a possibility if that's what you're interested in doing. It would be a little bit tougher, I think, to find the right organization and to make sure that everything's legit and they actually have a good plan for what to do in the future. I mean, you could end up bearing a lot of responsibility for things simply because they might not have people that are there full time. They're depending on people that just kind of come in and help out here and there. Keep in mind, this is based on my very limited experience working with one organization. So there probably are better established organizations that have this kind of thing going on already, where they might have some full-time staff. I've actually heard that there are some places where you could, some of the larger, well-established NGOs, that you could go and volunteer, probably if not completely full-time, then spend a lot of time there for a month or two, maybe 3, with the expectation that after you put in that work and get familiarized with their system and the way they do things and what they do, that they would be able to provide you with some kind of compensation after that. So that is a possibility if that's what you're interested in doing.
Here you go. That's getting a job in a nutshell.
If you guys got any questions, you could leave some comments. We can try to answer them.
Yeah. We've done our best, and we wish you all the luck. And
this is our best.
Yeah, this is our best. Hey, you know what? This is going to be edited down, so it might seem really good once it's